Hello dear students, welcome into the lecture number 3 on unit number 3rd optical methods, that is molecular fluorescence and molecular phosphorescence spectroscopy. Okay, so we have already started a subtopic, that is fluorometry or fluorometry. Okay, into the previous lecture we have seen the instrumentation of the single beam fluorimeter. Into this lecture we are going to start the double beam fluorimeter. Okay, so double beam fluorimeter, first we will see the working of the double beam fluorimeter. All of you know the working of the single beam fluorimeter. This instrument is slightly different than the single beam. So fluorescence intensity is proportional to intensity of irradiation. Into the single beam fluorimeter, the fluctuations in the intensity may give wrong results. Hence, a double beam fluorimeter is used. Okay, this is the drawback of the single beam fluorimeter, because when we take the readings at that time, what will happen? The some amount of reading will be maybe wrong. Okay, so that's why we are using double beam fluorimeter. So in a double beam fluorimeter, the existing radiation is split into two beams. The two beams are then allowed to pass through two primary filters, followed by their passage through sample and reference cuvettes simultaneously. That means in this double beam fluorimeter, we are keeping two different cuvettes, one for the reference, or we can say for blank solution, and one for the our sample solution. The fluorescence radiation then pass through a common secondary filter which allows only visible fluorescent light to pass through and fall on photomultiplier tube. That means a common radiation source of, or you can say UV source, that is mercury vapor lamp, will be kept in between that both cuvettes, and that will be passed through the primary filters. The functions of both we have seen in previous single beam fluorimeter also. Okay, then that fluorescent light which is coming through both the cuvettes from the sample as well as from the blank cuvette, that will be falls on the detector, that is photomultiplier tube. The use of a double beam instrument eliminate error due to changes in intensity of the incident beam due to voltage fluctuations. So this is the double beam fluorimeter, or can say double beam filter fluorimeter. All of you know these all are component we have already seen in a single beam fluorimeter. In today's lecture also we are going to see one by one all the components of this double beam filter fluorimeter. Okay, so these are the components. See, this is the mercury vapor lamp, that is the radiation source. Okay, then this is the lens, that is the collimating lens. This one collimating lens. This is the primary filter. They can second collimating lens. This is the sample cuvette. That means in this cuvette we are going to keep our sample solution. Then the converging lens. This is the common secondary filter. Okay, this is the common secondary filter. Again we will come from the mercury vapor lamp. This is the lens. Then the half of light will be passed through this primary filter, falls on this lens, that means collimating lens. Then that will be reaches up to the blank cuvette, or you can say distilled water. Okay, from the emitting light will be coming through this converging lens and falls on the common this secondary filter, and both the lights which is coming through the sample as well as blank, that will be reaches up to this detector, that is the photo multiplier tube, and finally this detector will be show signal that will be read into this readout device. Okay, so this is the all components. All of you know the functions of this radiation source. It will emit the visible light or UV light. Okay, that visible light and UV light falls on this primary filter. That primary filter in both the case, that means in blank as well as in sample side, this primary filter will be filter, or you can say absorb that visible light, and only UV light will be passed through this lens and falls on this sample as well as this blank cuvette. Okay, on both these the UV light will be false. Both the sample as well as blank will be absorb that UV light and emit the fluorescent radiation. Okay, that fluorescent radiation along with main UV light will be again going through this converging lens from both the sides, from the blank as well as sample will be false on this secondary filter. This secondary filter will be absorb that UV light and only pass the fluorescent radiation which is coming through the sample as well as the blank cavity. Okay, so that will be reaches to this detector or will detect that fluorescent light and read into the readout device. Okay, this is about the double beam filter fluorimeter. Okay, now we will see the calibration of this double beam filter fluorimeter. Okay, so calibration, that means in previous lectures we have seen this calibration method in both, that means calibration curve method. All of you know, for that method we have to prepare a series of standard solutions. Okay, and measure the fluorescent intensity of each of these is determined with the reference to blank taken as a 0. That means adjust the 0 and take the readings of all standard solution along with the unknown sample solution. Then a calibration graph is drawn of F versus concentration. F stands for fluorescent intensity versus concentration. The graph will be linear. That means straight line graph will be obtained. The fluorescent intensity of unknown is then found. The concentration of this solution can be then found out from calibration curve. Now we will see the calibration curve graph. So this is the calibration curve method graph. All of you already seen this graph. See, on y-axis that is F, that is fluorescence intensity. On x-axis the concentration in ppm, or you can say in milligram per dm cube. So by using standard solution we will get the linear or straight line graph, but we don't know the concentration of the unknown sample solution, but only know the fluorescence intensity of that unknown sample solution. See, on y-axis, when we draw the straight line on that linear line, or from the linear line to the x-axis, we will get the concentration of the unknown sample solution. So in this is the calibration curve method. We have already two to three times we have already seen. It is same as that of the previous one. Okay, just the intensity, or you can say the instrument will be changed, but the graph will be the same. Now we will see the applications of the fluorimetry. There are total 5 applications of this fluorimetry. First is the in the determination of uranium in salts. the uranium sample is evaporated with nitric acid to bring about oxidation. That means we have to already take the uranium sample and heat into the nitric acid up to what the oxidation takes place. Then the sample is fused with sodium fluoride to melt, having fluorides of sodium and uranium. That means the sample along with sodium fluoride we have to melt it. Then the fluorides of sodium and uranium will be prepared into that molten material. On cooling, this solidifies to glass, which is examined in a specially designed fluorimeter. By this, one can determine uranium of the order 5 into 10 raised to minus 9 gram in a 1 gram of solid sample. So in this way, the uranium salt will be determined. This is the first application of the fluorimeter. Now the second one, the most important application of fluorimetry are to be found in the analysis of food product, pharmaceutical, clinical samples and neutral products. Third one, studies of protein structures. That means by using the fluorimetry we can study the protein structures also. For that, proteins that contain fluorescent chromophore such as tryptophan and FAD fluorescence, the bring of substances such as inhibitors, enzymes and allosteric effectors close to such intrinsic fluorescence can be measured by the changes in their fluorescence spectra. So this is third one. Now the fourth one, fluorimetric reagents. That means some of the molecule, or you can say reagents, that also applicable in fluorimetry. The most successful fluorimetric reagents for cation analysis have aromatic structures with two or more donor functional groups that permits chelate formation with the metal. The structure of two such common reagents are given below. That means there are two or more donor functional group, or which consist of a aromatic ring also, that permits what? Chelate formation. That means the chelation will be formed. That molecule, that aromatic and two or more donor group also present on that molecule, that will be form the chelate to the particular metal ion. Then it will emit a characteristics fluorescent light. Okay, what are that two examples or reagents? See, the first one is the benzoin. Okay, in this the aromatic rings is there. OH is the group which is donor functional group. Their carbonyl group also there. This will be useful for the chelate formation into the particular metal ion. Now the second common reagent is 8-hydroxyquinoline. Okay, this 8-hydroxyquinoline, this is also aromatic in nature, so this OH group and N will be formed chelate with the different metal ion, and it will emit the characteristics of the fluorescent light. Okay, that we can easily identify with the help of the single beam as well as double beam fluorimeter. Now the last application is the detection and estimation of metals and non-metals. All of you know metals and non-metals. The first part, determination of ruthenium ion in the presence of other platinum metals with 5-methyl-1,10 phenanthroline. It forms complex ion which fluoresces strong at pH 6. That means at pH 6 we can easily identify this above molecule along with the ruthenium. Now B part, in estimation of boron in steel using alcoholic solution of benzoin, that means the steel sample we can easily identify along with alcoholic solution in of the benzoin solution. that will be useful for the identification of the boron in steel. Okay, this is the last application of the fluorimetry. So for today's lecture, this is we have computed the single as well as double fluorimeter. That means instrumentation part of the fluorimetry we have covered. So for today's lecture, thank you.